Father Leo and I would both tell you our Holy Week and Easter services were flat out just fabulous and moving. Great crowds, great spirit of prayer. You could just see people being touched by what we celebrated. And if you weren't here in person, or if you want to watch it again, I'd encourage you to go to the faith box on our webpage where you can find this one of the three boxes, the one in the middle, a link to homilies. And I would say in particular, maybe watch the brief homily for Holy Thursday and that washing of the foot ceremony. It was just really moving. And there's also children's messages, which priest has which mass for the rest of the month, so you could avoid me and get the nice priest. Anyway, just so grateful and pray that these next 50 days we just let this unfold and deepen in us all that is good. Then Easter Monday, we got the news of the death of Pope Francis. So we announced that there would be prayer cards at the doors of church. We opened church at noon, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, chimed the Angelus. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and invited people to pray. Well, we're going to go ahead and pray that prayer now. You can find this on our webpage as well, but we'll project your parts as well. But we begin with this fabulous quote from Pope Francis, who said, and I just love this about Jesus, whenever we take a step towards Jesus, we come to realize that he is already there waiting for us with open arms. That's the Jesus he knew. That's the Jesus we have. So each time, Father Leo and I will make a brief statement, and then we'll pray together.
Pope Francis loved God and walked his days humbly with Jesus.
Inspired by his faith, may we too be people of prayer. Pope Francis worked tirelessly for the dignity of every person. May we, like him, serve the poor and marginalized with tenderness and love.
Pope Francis reverenced creation.
Help us to also treasure the earth, the air, our water, and all living things. Pope Francis died like he lived, with a servant's heart. May his death inspire us to remember what truly matters in the days we have on earth. And we end our prayer. Welcome your humble servant Francis into your loving arms, God of mercy, and hear his prayers for us. Amen. Hear his prayers for us indeed, O Lord. Father Leo and I will together offer thoughts for the homily this weekend. Thank you so much for joining us. The world was changed forever by the life of Pope Francis. It will be again changed forever by his death. From the beginning of his papacy, Pope Francis showed great humility and a simplicity that is rare for anyone in a position of such power. But you might remember that from the moment he was selected, he went out to the balcony. Instead of offering a blessing, he bowed his head and asked the people to bless him. Or how when he checked out of his hotel room, he went himself to pay the bill. And how he kept his small old car and lived in simple quarters, not in the typical wealthier abode. Throughout his papacy, Pope Francis showed and embodied a special love for the poor, for those at the margins, for all who were disadvantaged in any way. In summary, Pope Francis taught us Jesus, whom he loved, and he showed us Jesus by his life. Father Leo and I believe that Pope Francis would want us to remind everyone about what he knew about himself, that he was imperfect, and how fitting that we talk about him on Divine Mercy Sunday, because Pope Francis was always proclaiming the mercy of God. It's a mercy he believed in, a mercy he counted on for himself, and a mercy he so generously offered to others. Today, Father Leo and I just want to offer a few of the things that Pope Francis said which moved us and which have stayed with us, and a few of the ways he lived that have inspired us. We each have two quotes, two of our most favorite Pope Francis quotes. Father Leo, would you tell us your first quote?
I see the church as a field hospital after battle. It is useless to ask a seriously injured person if he has high cholesterol and about the level of his blood sugars. You have to heal his wounds. Then we can talk about everything else.
I love that he was always inviting us to remember the main thing, right? One of my favorite quotes from Pope Francis is about the Eucharist. He said, "The Eucharist is not a prize for the perfect, but a powerful medicine and nourishment for the weak." It is so important that we understand that this is true. Please don't ever think that you don't deserve to come here to the table of the Lord. Please don't decide that others don't deserve to come either. Father Leo, your second quote.
Having faith does not mean having no difficulties, but having the strength to face them knowing we are not alone.
Yes, Pope Francis wanted us, as did Jesus, to help make sure people knew that they were not alone, that we would know that and we would help others know that. He was always encouraging us to accompany those in need, right? Those at the edges, those food insecure, fleeing for their lives, imprisoned, discounted. Well, Father Leo wanted to share one of the ways that he saw Pope Francis model Christ-like compassion for those for whom life was tough.
One of the things that impacted me was the story on 2 different Holy Thursdays. Pope Francis one year went to wash the feet of prisoners. No pope had ever gone to a prison or a jail to do that. The second one, another year, he went to an AIDS clinic. And again, he washed the feet of those people that were coming there for treatment. But the interesting thing is, he didn't just wash their feet, he kissed their feet when he was done, and he wiped them clean.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yes, the words and writings of Pope Francis were profound, but the most poetic words were how he lived them. And that brings me to my final quote, responding to a question about a purportedly gay priest. Pope Francis said, "Who am I to judge?" My friends, that is Christ. It's what Jesus did. Jesus himself was always with the outcast and those considered lowly or sinful. He laughed with his people. He wept with them. He walked with them. And when he appeared to them today, he showed them the wounds he bore in his body for having been real among them. And that is how he counts on every pope we would ever have to live. and how he counts on us to live. And all of that brings us to this moment. As the world mourns the death of Pope Francis and prays for guidance in selecting his successor, I believe it would mean the world to Pope Francis if we believed and trusted from him those words that we put on our prayer cards and with which we began Mass, when Pope Francis said, "Whenever we take a step toward Jesus, we come to realize that he is already there, waiting for us with open arms." That is Jesus. That is Jesus. Yes, the world was changed forever by the life of Pope Francis. It will again be changed forever by his death. May we too be changed forever for the better because of what he showed us of Christ, by his words, but especially by his life.